Welcome to The Abundance Journey, the show that helps spiritual entrepreneurs create an abundance mindset that accelerates revenue. Secretly, everything you experience in your life is actually abundance. Once you understand how to activate abundance, you find yourself in flow with your business and clients, so it's easy to create the revenue you want. The Abundance Journey is the only show that activates abundance for you, so you enjoy rapid results in your business. Here's your host, the Abundance Ambassador, Elaine Starling.
I have a deep inner knowing that each of us is truly in partnership with the divine, with the God of your understanding. Now, often the divine will send me images to clarify things for me. And I got this image of a fireman holding a fire hose to direct water where it's needed. And the divine was making it super clear to me that my job is to direct divine energy where I want it to go. So it's like I am the hose that this divine energy flows through. And that's why it's super important that my hose is really wide open and I get rid of all the blocks, all the resistance that might slow that divine energy down. That's my job. Now, I love meeting experts who have kind of a similar relationship with the divine. They call it different things. They talk about it in a different way. Their stories are completely unique and different. And that's brilliant. I love it because the more different perspectives we can get on the same kind of concept, the easier it is for you to create your own awareness of what's happening and how it's showing up for you in your life. Well, that's why I'm absolutely delighted that we get to chat with John Novello today. John's amazing. He's a Grammy award-winning jazz pianist and composer, as well as an authority on manifesting abundance. I really want you to check out his Amazon best-selling book. It's called The Invisible Architect: How to Design Your Perfect Life from Within. Totally resonates with me. I really am excited about this book because it guides you to an innovative personal and spiritual transformation that offers a unique perspective on achieving your perfect life by harnessing the power of the creator, the invisible architect. And we all have that available to us within. Every single one of us, no exceptions. We are all in partnership with the divine. Challenge is, most of us don't know it. You don't know what you don't know, kind of a problem, right? Well, John is so adept at guiding his clients to become aware of the architect, to learn how to consciously commune with and employ the architect. And ultimately, it really comes down to trusting the architect to manifest your desires as only the architect knows how to do. Honestly, we think we know what we want. We have no idea what is possible for us. The architect always knows. It is truly the journey of using your inner world to create your outer world. John, I am so psyched you can join us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm psyched to actually be here and contribute to your great flow.
Oh man, you just get the rhythm, right? You get the rhythm of spirituality, and I'm really excited to jump into this. We're going to do a couple of things to sync up our energy with each other, with everyone who's listening and watching, and also with the divine. We're going to start with 3 breaths together, and then I'm going to share an intention. The intention is what we want to create and how we want to feel as we're creating it. And I'm going to hold that intention, all of us are, in total silence for 78 seconds. The energy will start to move. You can notice it moving. And a couple of tricks that I have found really helpful in staying that course over 78 seconds. I'll pick 2 or 3 words that really resonate with me, that feel very high energy. And that's what I'm trying to create. Like, this is a bookmark for the divine. This is the energy level that we're going for. So I just repeat those 2 or 3 words over and over again in my mind to stay at that high energy space long enough for the divine to lock in and really help us get where we want to go. Now, the other thing that is helpful is to notice what's happening in my body, because I'll get chills, or often it feels as though the molecules in my body are opening and expanding. That's just a sign that the divine has already locked in and the energy is starting to move in the direction we want to go. So it's really fun. It's really powerful. And let's get going with the breaths. Now, with the 3 breaths, as we breathe in through the nose, think the words, I am. And as we breathe out through the mouth, think the word consciousness. So 3 times, I am consciousness. Let's go. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. In love and light, we hold the intention that we welcome the divine architect in our lives, noticing, enjoying, and appreciating even more how we create our best lives from within. Thank you, divine. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is done. We give thanks, and so it is. Wow, that was really cool. I got ripples going out. What was that experience like for you, John?
Well, anytime I get into the I amness of anything, it's definitely a spiritual experience. I call it going into the silence and raising your frequency to the architect's frequency, and it's always amazing.
I know. I just love that feeling. Now, obviously, Grammy-winning musician, composer, you freaking rock, right? But it kind of feels like a bit of a 180 to go from that incredible experience and career to now for something completely different. Here we are talking about the inner architect. What happened? Why are you so passionate about helping people understand how to collaborate with this inner architect?
Well, I never thought in my twilight years here that that's what I would be doing. And I moved to from Los Angeles to Nashville with my lady. But before I moved, I woke up one day, and I've always been hooked up to the invisible architect. When I was young, I called it my higher self or inner voice. And so I've been in communication with it for years. And I woke up one day and it said, you need to write, and I've already written many other books in other areas, and you need to write a book and pay it forward, because in order for me to achieve all my success, I have actually been interacting with the invisible architect and researching and studying. So even though on one hand it seems to be a 180, I've been using all these fundamentals for years for my success. And so it was sort of almost like a duty in order to pay it forward, since I had accomplished all of this, is to share my spiritual mechanics and dynamics with others. And that's how the book started anyway.
That is awesome. I love that. I love that. And, you know, it kind of goes right back to the experience that I just had while we were holding the intention of the ripples, because truly the most powerful, most valuable thing any of us can do is to understand how we align with the divine, how we collaborate with that invisible architect to create the life of our dreams. Because when we're willing to go there and really show up in our true self, our full partnership, that's when the magic happens, not just for us, but for everybody else who's witnessing, or like you said, through the readers who get to touch that experience that you had. I love that.
No, exactly. And my big revelation was we get rid of our own spiritual narcissism. We are not the power. We are, like your hose example, we are the distributor of the power. Once we invite the divine into our life, because we do have free will, and it's not going to bypass that free will, but we have to invite it into our life and realize that we're the distributor of this power, then the manifestation occurs at lightning speed as compared to us on our own trying to manifest everything. And that's where a lot of people fall short on the law of attraction. They just think it's positive statements and I. And it has nothing to do with that. It's hooking up with the frequency of the invisible architect, the creator of all, the divine, and allowing it, this intelligent energy that permeates everything, to help co-create our lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you bring to mind a couple of different things, because there is that pure divine collaboration where you are wide open and you're sending love and blessings to absolutely everybody, right? And then there's the partially blocked hose, so to speak, where, well, I want the good guys to get the good stuff, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
And so one of the things that I've been doing, and I discovered this actually when I was doing a process called the 7-day mental diet, where you're supposed to tune out all the bad stuff, all the negative stuff that triggers you, and just try to stay in a very positive space. And during the 7-day mental diet, the divine kept showing me earthquakes and natural disasters and wars and arguments and all this stuff. And I'm like, what the heck's going on here? Why do you keep pestering me with this stuff when I'm trying to be so positive? And I got the clear message, honey, how do you think we get all this energy out where it needs to go? We expect you to send love and blessings out to everybody who needs it or who is impacted by the stuff we're showing you. You're not here to just be an innocent bystander. You're here to be a supportive collaborator.
Exactly.
I was like, ooh, mind blown.
That's when the magic starts, is realizing that my other biggest revelation was realizing that the invisible architect, the creator of all the divine, whatever your beliefs are, actually, and this was a heavy concept, doesn't even make sense sometimes, but that energy expresses and knows itself through our desires. So since we are children, when we have a desire and we go after it and achieve it, it's like being a parent. You're proud when your son or daughter graduates or accomplishes something. The invisible architect grows and expands and knows itself through our creations that it helps us create. I think that's amazing when you
absolutely. I'm going to expand on that just a couple of things, because two things. A lot of people feel kind of in conflict with the God of their understanding. It's like, I ask for stuff and nothing happens. What the heck is going on here? And it's truly, my experience is the God of your understanding is a lot more like a very loving parent with a pre-verbal infant. If you've ever seen a parent, they're like, oh, do you want your bottle? No. Do you want your blankie? No. Do you want your binky? No. So everything that you're being shown in the world, you go, wow, I'd love to have that car, but I can't. No, the divine is saying, do you want that car? You can have it. You have to decide that that's a priority for you, and we will help direct you towards what you want. We're not going to just wave a magic wand and poof, there it is in your lap. Now, the other thing that I want to share with you, because I'm loving this conversation. Sorry to just kind of steal it, John, but I want your insight and input on this. So I was shown that absolutely everything is love. Everything. everything. It doesn't matter what we're talking about, a pen, your phone, the desk, everything. God is love. Everything is love. So then the question naturally comes up, well, then how do you expand love? How do you expand the divine? How do you expand God if everything is already love? And I was shown that that's why they created human beings who do not experience everything as love. We have a choice. We get to experience contrast, the difference between what is wanted and what is not wanted. And we have the choice of stepping back in fear and shutting things down, closing the diameter of that hose, or we step forward with love, not knowing what's going to happen, open vulnerability, hoping for the best, welcoming in the guidance. Every time we step forward in love, we actually expand the divine. This is the cutting edge of the divine. That's why you've been human many times in the past, and you will be many times in the future. This is the rock star place to be, because this is where the action happens.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
that's where the spiritual growth comes from, because when we incarnate, the veil of amnesia is part of the algorithm, because if you remembered everything from all kinds of lives and everything wherever, it would be a total cacophony. And so when we come in with that veil, so in my book, I discuss what the love is through a formula that I call be, do, have. Most humans have it backwards. They feel like in order to be, they have to have this, then they can do this, and then they will be this. It's actually the opposite. You want to be what your desire is. And in your mental, spiritual universe, you have to have total faith that this wish you have is already fulfilled. And I give practical spiritual drills on how to do that, because a lot of people have trouble with that because their mind pushes back. So if you're trying just to create a better relationship, you have to be that relationship already having been achieved. And that makes the doingness of the architect and your decisions work towards that ultimate have, rather than in order to have a good relationship, I have to meet somebody and then this will happen. So it's be, do, have, not have, do, be. And when you are something, like when I play, I become one with the piano and what I'm going to play. And then the architect kind of, if you think of the architect as sitting there going, let me see if this guy's got faith in me and if he's serious. And if he sees that I have faith in that desire, then it comes into my life because I've invited it. But like you said, if you have doubts and reservations, or you're just praying, please, please do this for me, that's like a victim. And the architect just kind of just sits there, he's not quite ready to invite me. And once he's ready, I'll come in. So that's what my book is about, on how to communicate, raise your frequency to the architect's frequency so you can actually recruit it into your life through the be, do, have formula.
I love it. I love it. I talk about that too, and I can't wait to read your book. So, John, I know we're kind of going, we're going all over the place because I am loving this conversation. This show is called The Abundance Journey, and I have never had two people define abundance exactly the same way. How would you describe abundance based on the kind of work that you're doing with your clients?
Well, it doesn't matter what one of my clients that I mentor one-on-one wants to achieve. When we first work together, I have them write down every non-ideal situation in their life, whether it's money, relationships, health, discipline, self-respect, whatever. And then we work towards increasing that area to the ideal scene. So abundance is the be. To be or not to be used to be the question, right, in Shakespeare, but that had something to do with should I live or not live, or suicide. But to be or not to be is the question, because if you are being what your desire is, you are therefore creating abundance in that area. Most people are not being below their awareness to a certain degree. So when I work with them, instead of like counseling, like say psychotherapy, let's go back into the past and find out why you are not being in an area. Well, that's workable, but very efforty. It's much better to just postulate the new beingness, which is the abundance in that area. So once I get people to be, whether it is the great relationship or a better job or more money or health, then that is the abundance in that area. And that is not limited it is the sky is the limit created depending on your creation and how far you want to go with the architect.
Yeah, I love what you're talking about. I totally agree with it. It's so interesting because I'm sure you've read the book Power versus Force by David Hawkins. He also has another book that's absolutely brilliant. It is called The Map of Consciousness Explained. And in that book, he's talking about different levels of consciousness. And he says, if you commit to showing up as love, and that is the consciousness that you want to have, that's how you want to be in the world, immediately the opposite shows up. Because we live in a world of duality. What is not wanted is in the exact same space as what is wanted. It's a matter of where we put our attention. Focusing our attention on what is wanted brings more of what is wanted into existence. Go ahead.
Well, that's why part of the thing in my book is most people that have trouble in this area don't know how to control their thoughts.
Yeah.
So I have something called the law of thought substitution. In the physical universe, no two objects can occupy the same space at the same time. Otherwise, you'd fall through the chair and fall through the earth, right? In the thought universe, thought is energy, everything is energy. If you have an unwanted thought or a pushback towards your desire, if you can recognize that that's what your mind's doing and immediately substitute the correct thought or any positive thought, now you're controlling your thought. So if you want to manifest abundance in any area, you have to control your thoughts, not just initially, but constantly until it's achieved. And therefore, most people don't have the discipline. So I have a law of thought substitution, spiritual exercise, where they can recognize the pushback from the mind, that dichotomy that you're just talking about, hot, cold, to be, not to be, to do, not do. Once you recognize that counter emotion and that counter thought and counter effort, you have to immediately substitute the correct thought, the correct effort, and you could become an expert at controlling your thoughts. Once you control your thoughts, the architect sort of kind of like going, oh, he's ready for me. He's invited me and he's got faith. And then we rock and roll.
Absolutely. It's so funny because a lot of my clients get really worried that they're doing something wrong when they have these human experiences. They get triggered by something, or they say their thought isn't as supportive as they want it to be. I'm like, no. We're weebles. Those toys that are weighted at the bottom and they kind of go back and forth. We wobble, but we don't fall down. We're supposed to experience the contrast and then go, oh, wait a minute. I want to get back into alignment with the divine. I want to align with the architect, right? I don't have to stay over there. Yes. Yeah. So the contrast is necessary for growth. It is not a bad thing. Now, obviously, John, you've worked with lots and lots of different people. What have you noticed or kind of common symptoms? What are they struggling with that makes them go, wow, I really need to chat with John?
Well, there's 7 milestones that when I work one-on-one with a person that I need to achieve. But the first one is through experience and observation and knowledge. They have to first, I think you said this earlier, become aware of this invisible architect, this energy, this intelligent quantum energy that permeates us and everything. Because if you don't know it's there, then you can't delegate or recruit it to help you. If you were walking around and you had this amazing bodyguard that could protect you, and you started walking down an alley and a gang's after you, and you didn't know it was there, and it was only going to come and help you if you said, hey, I need help, then you wouldn't be able to do it. Or if you were in a war and you needed air support, you'd get on your walkie-talkie and call command, hey, the enemy's coming over the hill, here's the coordinates, I need help. So the most amazing thing is people that are either A, unaware of this amazing power that we all have, this inner power, becoming conscious of, then that's not good enough, because if we don't know how to interact with it, we can't just pray and go, please, please, please do this. It's not going to bypass our freedoms and our free will. We have to learn how to communicate and interact with it, and I call that spiritual mechanics. So the spiritual mechanics of becoming aware of the God of our understanding, and that it is all powerful and all knowing and all loving, and knowing how to communicate with it. Those are the 2 things that are missing in any kind of manifestation. Doesn't matter who we are.
So true. So true. I think that's one of the most common things that I encounter with all of my clients too. If you don't know what you don't know and you wonder why things aren't going the way you want them to, you're playing blind man's bluff in your own life. And that's
Exactly.
kind of freaky.
Well, then you start thinking you're unlucky and you get a failed purpose and why me and how come not him and me
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
guess I was cursed, and they don't become aware that, hey, the whole reason you came from this area with no effort, otherwise we'd stay on the other side or stay on the afterlife. We're in line to come to the 3D dimension because of the challenges and the immense spiritual growth of the dichotomy of surviving. Why would an eternal being have to survive in the first place? That's
Right.
already a dichotomy, and the idea is you have amnesia, and then you grow through all those trials and tribulations. But a lot of people don't, and then they cross over, have to do a life review, and go, "Oh my God, I really blew that," you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. One of the things that I've noticed, John, and I'm sure you have too, whenever we want that outside world to change in some way, we want our experiences to change somehow, we have to change something inside us first.
Exactly.
What have you noticed? Your clients have to be willing to change before they can have the transformation they want.
Well, they first have to understand, that's why that be, do, have formula is important, that every negative or unideal situation in their life that they are responsible for in some way, shape, or form, and they co-create it. So putting your attention on I don't have money, my bank account says this. You're not supposed to consult the physical universe for a license to survive. You need to put your attention on the cause, because be, do, have synonymously is cause, distance, effect. So you have to change the cause that created the unwanted situation. By changing the cause, then you have to put in what's the ideal be, what's the ideal desire. So if you're struggling with money, instead of finding all the things that your parents did wrong and all the negative situations you had with money, which is so efforty, you just have to state this wish fulfilled. I have a great job that makes me plenty of money, that I can handle all my friends and obligations, and I'm able to do this. Okay, that's your affirmation from the law of attraction universe. But you have to then be able to control your mind and have total faith and hook up with the architect that it will help you do that. And if you don't have faith and trust, the moment you put the counter effort, oh, this is probably not going to happen, it's not working, it's like you're actually out of one side of your mouth postulating the ideal scene, and on the other side of your mouth you're saying, well, I don't think it is. So then that dichotomy of to be and not to be is at play, and to that degree you may achieve part of it or none of it.
Yeah, it's so interesting because we get in our own way. We put blocks in the way. And I use the analogy of like looking at a stream. And if the water is that divine energy, you want a nice open path. You don't want anything in the way. But we've all seen those burbling brooks where there's big rocks and then the energy gets sucked around into a whirlpool and stuck there for a while. That's because we've put barriers in the way to letting the divine guide us. It's really interesting. The power of our words is just so profound. I was really blessed on New Year's Day 2005 to have a stroke, because during my stroke, I got to have a conversation with our higher power and a complete download about how everything works, why we're alive, how we can live our best life, and what happens next after this life. And so here I am having this conversation, and it was amazing. I mean, I have never felt so much intense, all-pervasive love in my life. Just incredible. It was like a Niagara Falls of love. So I come out of the stroke, zero damage, because, when
Right.
God wants to have a conversation, God will just have a conversation with you. Congratulations, you get a stroke. So here I am, no damage. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was incredible. I want more of that unconditional love like Niagara Falls right now, all the time, on tap. Could I just turn it on? And I did all this research and everybody said, well, you just have to allow. You open yourself and you allow the messages to come through. So, I was meditating, I was journaling, I was allowing. And I would would get downloads every once in a while. It always felt great, but it was no Niagara Falls, let me tell you. And so finally, one day, I was kind of chapped, and I'd done my meditation, I'm journaling, and I'm writing, why isn't this allowing thing working for me? Kind of a testy tone of voice. And this message came through. What is the image that comes to mind when you think of the word allow? And I never put anything on anybody because you have a totally different relationship with words than I do. So this was just my experience. I immediately saw myself behind a door with a chain on the door, and I'm peeking out the door at the divine, and I am terrified because I can't control it. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's next. And I suddenly realized that for me, the word allow is a mind-based word. And my mind wants order and structure and logic and cause and effect. And, a guarantee would be really nice. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, obviously that's not going to work with the divine because they've got a much bigger vision of what's going on and way more than I could ever comprehend. So what's a heart-based word that would allow me to really be open and have this loving relationship that I want with the divine? And I really had to think about it. This was not an automatic thing. I finally realized that my word is welcome. As soon
That's what my word is. Invite. And I used to be always told, given my different religious growing up, about surrender. And it is correct, but I didn't like that word because it made me feel like I'm being weak and not strong. So I had to come up with my own word, and that was invite. So when you invite the architect into your life, you are growing in strength energy-wise instead of surrendering to it, which for some reason, maybe that works for other people, but it didn't work for me.
I know. And I think a lot of that concept of surrender, the way I understand it, it's more about humility. It's about being humble enough. Instead of, I was shown a three-legged race. And here I am tied up to the divine. And so we've got two legs together and the outside legs. And obviously the divine can go way further faster than I can. But here I am trying to drag the divine along behind me, right? That's an exercise in frustration. And they're like, we can help you out if you want to partner up. Why do you keep insisting upon being in charge? You don't have to do that. It was very interesting. Now, John, I would love to have a magic wand. I'm sure you would too, to just whee, and all of a sudden everybody totally gets this concept and they're able to immediately collaborate with their invisible architect. It generally is a series of steps, right? So what's a baby step that we could take that would get us going in the right direction?
Well, that's why after I wrote the book, I thought I was done and I was back to being a musician. And then I woke up one day and I sort of got ordered that I need to start this one-on-one mentoring program because not everybody can listen to an audiobook or read a book and instantly duplicate and apply. As a matter of fact, we are becoming more of an illiterate planet. And so the one-on-one ensures duplication and understanding when I'm working with a client. So I go through all the principles of my book, one-on-one with accountability and understanding, and I go through each of these manifestations. Number one is becoming aware of the architect. Number two, realizing that everything is energy, and our thoughts are energy, and words and beliefs create and manifest. So we better be careful and supervise it, and learn that we are not the power. We're the distributor of the power, and learn that the architect expresses itself through each of us, and that it can do anything that brings our faith. So those milestones, I work with people individually through the fundamentals of my book until I see they understand and have achieved them. Once they achieve those milestones, then I go into the actual manifestation process of them writing down their desires and applying this be, do, have manifestation formula, because they need to be cause in order to create that desirable effect. So all those things in their life that are undesirable, which are all the haves and not haves, we have to go to the bees, the cause of those, and create those and change our thinking and our mindset so it becomes a growth mindset, and then we end up manifesting what we do want rather than wondering why these things aren't happening.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love the way you described that, John. That was so powerful and so right on the money. You've been incredibly generous with us today with all of the insights, all of the valuable stories that you shared with us, and you've offered an incredible free gift to the audience as well. Could you tell us just a little bit about that?
Well, a chapter of my book, when they go and register online, they'll get a free chapter of my book to read, and it's a very important part of the manifestation process. And so that's the free gift. If they go to johnnovelloauthor.com, then a prompt will come up and they can put their info in and receive that, as well as be on my mailing list if they want to work with me at a later date.
That's awesome. I'll make sure that the URL is in the show notes. So if somebody's driving or you can't write it down, don't worry about it. You'll have easy access to it. Now, John, one of the things that we always do here at the Abundance Journey, we love to turn the tables on our guests, because we know that when we give is when we truly receive the most. What can we do to support you?
Well, my new goal used to be just to entertain and inspire people, which I've done my whole life and been successful. Now, the pay it forward part of my twilight years was the idea of writing the book. And so to me, helping the planet raise its total frequency so we can have a better place to live, because obviously, unless you live under a rock, things aren't going very well here on this planet. We're separate, divisive, etc. So one-on-one is how I decided I can help. Because if I can raise the frequency of each person and hook them up to the spiritual mechanics of the architect, they will create better lives and in turn help other people. So serving others is my goal. That's where all of our true power lies. And so the way they can help me is get a copy of my book. And it's not because I want to necessarily make money and get royalties. It's like so they can understand the principles that I've been blessed with my whole lifetime, so they can share those with others.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And also, I'll make sure that all of your social media links are in the show notes too, so that people can follow you and see the kinds of things that you're talking about. Because honestly, I know you have this experience too. We receive abundance every single day in every single facet of our lives. And it's a matter of being tuned into it and noticing it and how we collaborate with the God of our understanding to bring in even more. John, I am so tempted to keep you here all flippin' day because you are brilliant. I have had the best time.
Well, you're a great interviewer, and it's fun and effortless to go back and forth and create this conversation. Thank you so much.
Oh, man, you are a delight. Okay, everybody, stick around because we're going to activate abundance in just a minute. Hi, it's Elaine Starling, the Abundance Ambassador, and I know since you're listening to this show or watching this show, The Abundance Journey, you really want to experience more abundance in your life. Well, that's why I wrote the book, 5 Steps to Activate Your Abundance. It's available for sale right now from Amazon, from barnesandnoble.com, and many international sellers. And I want you to pick up a copy because I'm really opening the kimono here and sharing all of the information you need to experience abundance in every single aspect of your life. The book's divided into 3 parts. Part 1 is called Meeting the Divine. This is where I share my near-death experience and the conversation I got to have with our higher power during my stroke. In Part 2, Messages from the Divine, I share the best practices that I was given, the secret sauce in how life actually works. And so you understand really why you're here and how you can make the most of your life so you love every single moment. And then in the Part 3 is Partnering with the Divine. That's where I go into each of the 5 steps to activate your abundance and explain exactly why it works so well. So take a moment to pick up a copy. It's available as an ebook, a paperback book, an audiobook, and a video course. So however you like to absorb information, abundance is waiting for you. Isn't John fabulous? Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to read his book. I read 4 or 5 books a week, and this one is going to be top of my list because he gets it in such a brilliant way. Step 1 is always gratitude. Gratitude is the ignition switch to higher consciousness. Gratitude is the acorn of your abundance tree. So we always start with gratitude. And I really had a tough time coming up with just one thing because John said so many brilliant things to us today. I mean, honestly, but there was one that just really stood out to me. Step 2, acknowledge something you heard that was an aha for you. John said, we were talking about often when people are praying to the God of their understanding, and it kind of has this flavor of, I want you to do this for me. And John just off the cuff said, that's when you're in victim mode. And I was just like, whoa, that blew my hair back, because when you are assuming that someone else has to do it for you, you are denying your own power. You are a full partner with the God of your understanding. You are not some lowly little ant desperate for crumbs. And when you behave like a lowly little ant desperate for crumbs, you're being a victim. You are not owning your true self. And the God of your understanding is counting on you to step up and be a partner. That's the problem. That's the disconnect. I was like, wow, okay. That's really important for me to remember. Step 3, appreciate the difference it can make in your life. Well, when I'm aware that I'm abdicating responsibility, when I'm trying to make somebody else, like the God of my understanding, the divine, responsible for the next step, I'm letting go of my own power. Instead, I have the opportunity to acknowledge I am so happy and grateful that I am guided to my perfect next step. I mean, I can't tell you how often I will celebrate in advance. Like I'll write down, I can't wait to meet 2 mentors today because they'll guide me to the right answer for this thing that I'm working on. And I'll be in line at Starbucks. There are total strangers in front of me. I have no idea what they're talking about, but something they say triggers exactly what I needed to hear. And I get that insight that I was looking for. They were my mentors. How could I know that? There's no way I could know that in advance, right? So being aware that I am in control of my own power by acknowledging and being grateful for what is coming, and then opening up that peripheral vision to receive the blessings that are there for me. So powerful. I love the way John put that. It was just like, oh, so incredible. Step 4, we activate it. There's 3 different ways that we can activate this message from John. The first one is grab your calendar and schedule time to do it. Now, I count journaling under this category too. Journaling is incredibly powerful because often when you get your thoughts out and in that 3rd dimension, it's on the page, you get a different perspective. You can be more objective about what's happening. Brilliant. I love that. I'm definitely going to be journaling to make sure that I'm not being a victim. I'm not expecting the divine to totally pick up the slack. I'm looking for the clues. And often the divine is playing a game of connect the dots. Like the first dot isn't the answer. The answer doesn't become clear until 4 or 5 or 6 dots. So my job is to collect the dots and then start to notice how it all makes sense. Okay. That's why journaling is so powerful. The second way we can activate abundance is using a physical trigger, like crossing your fingers or tugging on your earlobe. So if I'm going into a meeting or I'm going to have a conversation, it can be a reminder, crossing my fingers, a reminder to own my power, be my true self, my authentic self, and let that divine love shine through me for the people that I'm meeting with. That's all I need to do. I don't have to stress out about how they're going to perceive me or what's going to happen in the meeting. I just need to be me. I need to own my power, Brilliant. I'm on it. The third way that we can activate abundance is to declare what we're going to do, and it really helps to work with an accountability buddy. John was talking about how he works really closely with his clients because sometimes it's hard to see where we're stumbling, right? It's easier for a good friend who's really connected with you to go, you said you weren't going to do that anymore, and the words that you're saying don't sound very powerful. Sounds to me like you're giving away your power again. Do you want to reframe that? What would be more you? I love that. So all of this is really important to me. I'm going to use all three methods to truly activate this abundance in me because I deserve it. I deserve to own my power, and the divine is counting on me to own my power. So yeah, I'm stepping up. Step 5, celebrate your progress. This is an incredible journey that we're on. We are weebles. We are going to wobble. We are going to notice things that trigger us. We don't have to stay there. We are in partnership with the divine. They've got our backs. They're ready to support us and help us. We have to be willing to receive the help. We have to be willing to welcome it in, invite it in. Oh man, such a blessing today. Thank you for joining me. I can't wait to see you for the next Abundance Journey.
You've been listening to the Abundance Journey Show with Elaine Starling. Visit theabundancejourney.com/podcast gifts to access today's gift, as well as gifts from our other guests. Tune in every week to activate abundance in your life and business. If something resonated with you, please share it with your friends so they can benefit too. Keep activating abundance, and we'll see you in the next episode.